Alright guys, more Georgia basketball news, and this one is a big one. I am so happy that the way this turned out. Georgia and Georgia Tech, clean old-fashioned hate, November 14th on Friday. If you guys know how I feel about this game. Georgia and Georgia Tech should always be on Friday night. It makes perfect sense. It's the biggest game, and it should be on the best day of the week, which is Friday. For sports games, the best day of the week, not the actual best day of the week. But you get the point of what I'm about to say. Georgia is coming off wins in 2023-24 and 2004-25. Make it 3 in a row versus Georgia Tech, and man, very excited to do that, because anytime you can beat your in-state rival, especially when it's one as horrible, as annoying as Georgia Tech, winning 3 in a row would be excellent, but you got to get there first. Last year's game was played on a Friday night, and to me it's more of a, I like the grind. Like somebody who makes, of course you guys know basketball content will always be first. So I start that day making basketball content, and then only run on a few hours of sleep, and then have to go up for football after that game. So Friday night basketball, and then wake back up Saturday to do football videos, and it takes all the time editing the radio highlights and the full games and everything I try to do for Georgia basketball. So that does take a long time. So I don't go to bed to 1, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock even some years. Especially on days that they both play, on days that Georgia basketball plays directly after Georgia or before Georgia football. I don't go to sleep often, and I love that. To me, that is the grind. That is what I've signed up to do with this. Somebody made a comment to me a very long time ago about your videos only getting your basketball videos. You say, well, your Georgia Tech Georgia Tech radio high if you only got 5 views. And my thing, I don't care. I don't do it for views. I do it because I enjoy it and I love it, and I believe Georgia basketball deserves the exposure it should get. And there is no better exposure than Friday night Georgia Tech basketball. We've had some. 2019-20 was on a Tuesday, if I remember right. 2021-22 was on a Friday. 2022-23 was on a Wednesday. 2023-24 was on a Wednesday or a Tuesday or Wednesday. So last year was the first year since 2021-22 it was on a Friday. And people make fun of me about this. I just believe this game should be on a Friday night, Saturday night, any of the weekend nights. This game should be on it, because I just feel like it makes perfect sense. If it's not on Friday, then it needs to be the day after, a few days after the football game. But I did make a post that the game should be always after the football game, and I do stand by that, unless it is a situation like this. It is played on a Friday. Georgia Tech in midweek just feels weird. I'm gonna be honest. Georgia and Georgia Tech in the midweek just feels all kinds of weird. But I mean, this is wonderful. So once again, Georgia and Georgia Tech, November 14th, Friday. I believe that is the same day Florida plays Florida State, and Louisville will play Kentucky. So a bunch of rivalry games that day, and Georgia and Georgia Tech, to me, being the most important out of all of them. 3 in a row, right? Georgia can win 3 in a row. Let's do that. Georgia Tech might be more improved this year than they were last year. Their coach, Stoudemire, has done a good job. I remember they beat UNC. They beat UNC and Duke last year, if I remember correctly. But was in no position at all to make the NCAA tournament. They did make the NIT, I believe, which they got beat in the very first round by a low team they shouldn't have ever lost to. Meanwhile, Georgia was in the NCAA tournament for the first time in 10 years since 2015. So I'd say 15 years. I got the year mixed up. It was 2015, not 15 years. That would have been 10 years. Regardless, the 25-26 team will be playing Georgia Tech on a Friday. So yes, one more time, Georgia and Georgia Tech, November 14th, Friday. Thank you, Georgia, and thank you. I assume Georgia Tech had to contribute to this too. Thank both of you guys, because this game should not be played midweek. It should be played on Friday night, and they've made that happen. So thank you guys. Thanks, Georgia. Thanks, Georgia Tech. Georgia and Georgia Tech being played on Friday night the way it should be. November 14th. Mark your calendars once again. That is Georgia and Georgia Tech, November 14th, Friday night. Go Hoop Dogs, THWGT, and hopefully we can make it 3 in a row over the Nerds.